Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Play to the Whistle, a show on Grassroot Chats that's released every Monday. And with me in the studio, we have Big Steve, the angry one, Neil Hinder. The season may be over, but Grassroot Chats is still going. First of all, we'd like to welcome Nottingham Forest back to the Premier League. Yay! Which will probably be another 3-point giver. But before we go on, today we are talking about the recap of the Champions League final, looking at major talking points, and we shall talk about potential buys or target men that certain clubs should get in the Premier League. But before we start, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you see, what you hear, what we do, please follow us on our socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. You can watch full videos on YouTube, and you can get all the content on grassrootchats.com. All right, let's dive into it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you three watched the Champions League final. If you didn't, I have no idea what you were doing. But we are going to go straight into it. Real Madrid, 14 Champions League titles, the biggest and the best in Europe. They love that cup more than they probably even love La Liga. So before we start talking about strategy, let's break it down to the major talking points. The game started a bit slow for Real Madrid, taking all that pressure. Liverpool should have, made some good things on the amount of pressure they had. But let's just go straight into it. Neil Hinder. Was that a penalty with the Fabinho knee in the situation where Benzema scored in the 40-something minute? A lot of people were arguing about deliberate pass. What did he go off his knee? Was that a penalty?
No, I didn't think it was a pen. I mean, I was quite surprised that it wasn't given as a goal. I mean, Benzema hadn't moved, but he took like 15 deflections to get there. And it comes to the point of reasonability of what had happened. But yeah, for me, not a pen. The good thing about all of it is it's irrelevant now because, they won. But had they not have won then it would have been a different story. But yeah, I was never sitting there thinking it was a pen. I don't know about anyone else, but yeah, not for me.
I mean, there were some arguments going up and down, and the VAR took forever. Big Steve, we all know how you like or love VAR. Was that something that should have been settled really quickly in terms of it's not a penalty, move on, let's continue the game?
So it shouldn't have been given offside as a goal for me because the ball came off Canute onto Fabinho's knee, then back to Benzema before he banged it in. So to me, it should have been a goal.
So you're saying, regardless of deliberate or not, the fact that it came off two Liverpool players before it got to Benzema should have been a goal?
Yep.
Do you agree with that, the angry one?
Yeah, it's second or third phase of play, whatever the terminology is now. A couple of deflections. It's not a pass back. It's not a pass from his own player. It's a goal, really. It's irrelevant that he was.
Yeah, but regardless of the amount of players he touched, though, it wasn't deliberate from any of them. It was Canute trying to clear the ball, and then he ended up hitting Fabinho, then he goes to Benzema, and then he scores. Surely that's not deliberate, so that should be offside.
No, because isn't it? I can't keep up with all the rules, but I thought there was an active phase of play when you can be offside, as we would call it in the old days. But because he's not interfering with play or whatever, he's not offside. But then when the ball comes back into play, he can score. Basically, it's a goal. So let's be honest.
With all this situation, all the situation that happens with VAR, with all the changes that they make to laws every season, Neil, do you think the offside rule can actually just be defined as one thing, so we don't have talking about phases and deliberate and hitting this player and that player?
I might be one of the only ones in the minority, but I find the offside rule pretty easy to follow. Like, it makes perfect sense of everything. I've grown up with the pass back rule being introduced, and everyone moaned about that. I'm not sure that the offside rule really anymore is that hard. I think VAR kind of stumped most of it out. Like, it can be millimeters or whatever, and that sometimes can feel pedantic, but I think they're pretty consistently anal with that side of things. And if people aren't understanding the second phase of play, then I don't think they're clever enough to be playing football. It's not really hard to understand, is it? If someone's, I genuinely think it's a lot simpler than people make it out. The one yesterday was kind of like one of those ones that come out of the middle of nowhere that never happens in a game, and is never an accidental pass. It wasn't deliberate from the defender. So when it came back for Fabinho, Benzema was still offside. Benzema was in an offside position in that. So I get the younger one's point of saying, well, actually second phase of play or whatever. It took so many deflections and it was so weird. It will probably never ever happen again. It was a knee off the Liverpool player from another Liverpool player, so you've got two deflections pushing it forward. If Benzema had got up and carried on playing like he usually would have done, he would have been in a better position. As I say, it didn't affect the game, but I believe it probably should have been a goal. But maybe the letter of the law on that one. But yeah, the offside rule, other than that particular rule, is I don't think anyone's really worried about it anymore. I mean, that's just me. Sometimes they get the shirt sleeve and stuff where they can score. That's a little bit weird, but I think we all understand it. And you in theory can't interpret it wrong because there's a defined law of black and white on that.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Neil has just said, if you don't understand the offside rule, you are not clever. But let's talk about the clever team, Real Madrid. Everybody has been talking about them being lucky ever since the comeback against PSG, then the comeback against Chelsea, comeback against Man City. I'll have you know that these guys beat the top three in England, beat the best in France with all the stars, didn't start the Champions League really well. Big Steve, would you say they have been lucky, or was this just destiny to beat Liverpool the way they did? And some people consider them to be the worst team on the day.
No, I wouldn't define it as lucky because they beat too many teams on the way. To be honest, they have a great resilience about them as well as good quality. And they just, in games, managed to pull it out, to be honest. They just got quality in able to get the job done. It's a Real Madrid side we're not associated with digging in and never giving up. Their heads didn't drop, even though they were 2-0 down. They still believe that they can get something. And for them, clinically, they got goals at good times, like just before half time, or it gave them enough minutes to get back into the game in some of the games. So yeah, no, they should have been dead and buried. When you look at things like the Man City game in the first leg, they should have been dead and buried, but they wasn't. And they were given an opportunity to come back. So fair play to them.
So no atom of luck, the angry one. This is all well deserved, or luck is actually part of when you win. And there's a lot of talk about, the aging midfield, Modric, Casemiro, Cruz. Is that? I mean,
but you make your own luck. So you keep playing to the whistle, boom, boom, no pun intended, and then basically, yeah, you make your own luck. So with City took all the attacking players off. They kept going, scored a couple of goals, and come back. You can't keep coming back consistently against different teams, different top quality players, and then say, oh, it's luck. Yeah, in a one-off game that could happen, maybe even two, but it was consistently, and they did it the same way. They were always fighting to the last minute, and they got the reward in the end. So yeah, it's just good team, or great team actually. Good manager, good tactics, got everything spot on, and a little bit luck in there, and a lot of heart. So,
I mean, I know they are champions of Europe, and of course the best team in Europe. But then looking at that team, though, Neil, do you think it's time for some players to move on? So when you look at that team, the defense line is Carvajal has been there for a long time. Mendy is playing really well left back, benching the likes of Marcelo, who's probably going to leave the club. But when you look at that midfield with Casemiro, Cruz, and Modric, is it time that Real Madrid start investing? I mean, they still have a good set of talent on the bench. Is it time for them to start, getting rid of some players?
I mean, it's not as old as people think it is. I mean, Modric is old; he's 36, and Marcelo's 34, right? Benzema's in his 30s, 34. Like, they're really the only old players, really. The squad isn't as anywhere near as old as that. They've done a good, quiet rebuild, and I say quietly because like they're no longer signing Galacticos. There's another team in Europe that's signing Galacticos and doing nothing with them at the moment. They're behind you, JJ, if you were unsure who I was on about. But Real Madrid are going...
Sancho Galactico. Woo! What a Galactico.
But Real Madrid are going about their business quite quietly. I think they've got a good team for the future. I look at that and go, a couple of additions. I think there's, even maybe only 3 to bolster the squad up. I think would be perfect for them. I think they've got a good team. Camavinga looks decent. He's only 19, and he's got great experience this season, like coming off the bench and taking over. Valverde looks like he can run forever. Like, and
the
he's
man
only
has
23,
energy,
right?
man. Stamina, non-stop.
Carver House, 30.
But I mean, you mentioned these guys, but the key thing here is the three that they have in the middle. Are they replaceable? Because apart from people talking about age and, maybe there's a possibility of getting youngsters, Big Steve, Modric, who's going to replace Modric right now in the world? Who's that? And the way he has played for Real Madrid, or who's going to replace Kroos? Or that connection those three have?
The thing is, I think what's key to it is with that squad, it's the manager. The way Ancelotti knows how to make them play to their strengths and use the youth as well as the experience. Another manager comes in, I think he has to change that midfield, to be honest, because he won't be able to make Cruz, Casemiro, and Modric probably work. He might want it a bit more youthful to run around. But Ancelotti's got a lot of faith in Modric, Cruz, and Casemiro that, they may not have the legs, but they've got the smarts to keep them in games, win trophies, win leagues. So at the end of the day, do you do a direct replacement for Modric? No, you can't. You'll have to figure out another way to play without him in the side.
I mean, there are talks that, talking about contracts, and he's going to, they're negotiating. The angry one, Modric, another 2-year contract?
Well, playing in La Liga, yeah, for sure, he could do it. He's never been blessed with pace or anything like that. He's very smart. He's an intelligent player, so that's not going to go. His legs might go, but his intelligence won't. So you get a couple of legs around him, like Camavinga, what have you. Apparently, I swear I saw Ceballos playing as well.
Yes,
Unbelievable.
Ceballos is a Champions League winner. There you go.
He was terrible.
He's always been terrible, but he's still got a medal. But you've got get a few legs around him, and you can keep going for another 2 years. It's not a problem, especially in La Liga. It's not fast as the Prem.
I mean, right now, one of the additions to the team is Rudiger. So we all know what he's about. That defense line will look good. The assumption is that he'll slot in right there with Alaba, and two of them will play in the middle.
I'm not sure you can play Alaba. Do you know?
Who's me?
He's your doppelganger. Sorry.
No, man. No. It's not me. Don't want, ladies and gentlemen, ignore what this guy has just said. Please take it off the records. It is. I do not look like Rudiger. But Rudiger should be going in there. Well, it's all sweet and nice for Real Madrid. 14 titles. They won it. They were the underdogs, and they won it. So now let's talk a bit about Liverpool. So Liverpool, for many seasons, in my opinion, have played, using their wing backs majorly. This season, they've found a way of using one very key midfielder in Thiago. So it kind of gives creativity in the middle of the park and, of course, on the wings. So before the game started, Thiago was they were not sure. And he actually played well for 77 minutes. But, Neil, do you think he should have been on the bench? And probably start Naby would have given them more legs. It's not like they needed more legs, but do you think something that could have maybe helped the game if Thiago didn't start?
I don't know what was wrong with him, but if he'd come on, say he came on after 60 minutes and you're thinking to change things up because you're losing 1-0, and then he goes off injured, that's your problem you've got. So if he's on after 5 or 10 minutes and he comes off, you've got the sub on for the rest of the game. But if you're bringing an injured player on, and then you go into extra time, you've got a whole realm and possibilities of bigger issues, I think. So I think these are professional players, right? They're on over 100 grand a week. Klopp knows his players inside and out, and the physios and doctors. They're all making proper educated decisions. If it was muscular, he probably wouldn't have played. Skeletal, at least he could take some painkillers, right? And not have to worry about it for at least 90 minutes, if that makes sense. So I think that's why he was there. Everyone's going on about how good he is. He
is good, though.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying
very good.
He's
world class.
I'm not saying he's. You call him world class. He's had a right season, right? He's won the League Cup and FA Cup.
Okay, sorry. One second. Is that the reason why he's not world class? Because he has won the League Cup and FA Cup?
No, I don't think he's had a good season this season, but he's not been fit the last 2 seasons correctly. So let's see what he's
just last season
and the season before at Bayern.
No, he was wonderful. It came in wonderful. So okay, wonderful. Just let me just ask you a simple question: is Thiago world class or not?
He's no De Bruyne.
No, you haven't answered the question. Is Thiago world class or
Not
not?
for me. He's not up there. He's not quite at that level yet.
Ooh. The angry one?
Nah, he's just elite tier. He's not world class. I say just elite tier is pretty good. To be honest,
I'd take that as a player.
Big Steve?
Yeah.
Sorry, what's the year?
Yeah, world class.
Okay. Wow. But Neil and the angry one don't think he's world class. That's the thing. Well, it's all good. I guess we all have our opinions.
We have to go on stats, right? 66% of the pundits say he's not, therefore he's not world class.
Oh yeah, 66%. All right. Well, yeah, makes sense. I agree. He did play well. Got subbed in the 77 minutes. Liverpool were chasing the game. Salah didn't particularly start well. Got into the game in the second half. Mane played well, in my opinion. Got a wonderful save once again from Courtois. Now, Courtois demands that you put some respect on his name. He told the world, look, we won. Somebody put some respect on my name. Why? First of all, Big Steve, since you always Keepers Union, why does Courtois think the respect isn't on his name?
Because his name is never really mentioned when you're talking about the world's best keepers over the last few seasons. He's been a good goalkeeper, but I don't think he's ever got that accolade of being held in like people talk about De Gea and stuff. He's never been there. And for him to come out of that statement, I think he's correct. He hasn't been respected in terms of being one of the world's best goalkeepers over the last couple of seasons. Last night's performance was the best goalkeeper performance I've seen in a final.
The thing is, the man is in La Liga. Everybody knows with the Premier League and because of the marketing and how the league is sold, the best league to watch in the world. Obviously, and to be fair, there are a lot of good goalkeepers in the Premier League. So is it a case of the media should be a bit more noisy about Courtois, the angry one? Why is he upset that people are not calling him in the likes of Edison and Alisson?
well, that's the British media, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that the Spanish press big him up, but they're not going to do that in.
So was that respect to my name directed at the English media?
I think it's worldwide. I think that where did he come in the Ballon d'Or or whatever it is, Golden Glove thingy for Europe? Because when you think of goalkeepers, yeah, you think of the De Geas, you think of the Alissons, you think of the Edisons. Those are the first three that come to your mind. I mean, when he was at Chelsea, you probably held him in such high esteem, but since he's been to Madrid, not really. And that might just be because, like Steve's saying, they don't get as much exposure. But yeah, I mean, I think I could agree with him. We don't pick him up as much as we used to for whatever the reason is, and it might just be media exposure. I'm not sure, but he's not a name that I automatically think of when I think about top goalkeepers. So that kind of says it all.
Well, Mr. Hinder, as a man that loves goalkeepers and the way you love Ramsdale for Arsenal and every other keeper out there, was Courtois right? Do you think he doesn't get the mention as much as he should? Or is it just a case of, you're not as good?
We mentioned Mendy.
Firstly, I feel like you've outed some sort of weird kink that I've got for men that wear goalkeeping gloves. Stay tuned for the show coming up.
Stay proud, man.
I can't wait for that show to go on air. With regards to Courtois, I don't think anyone thought that he wasn't decent or great. But if you think of Real Madrid goalkeepers, right? You've had Casillas for hundreds of years. He was like there before Jesus and was left after Jesus, right? He was there that long. And that keeper was awesome and cemented his name from a young age all the way through. So you're following in some big, bold footsteps when you go back to Real Madrid. So he's going to get compared to probably one of the best keepers of all time, which is understandable. And he's had a great night. It's how many times has he done that performance like he did last night regularly? And you probably say, he's played for Real Madrid, so it's harder to think of how many nights has he put on such a big display. And maybe in the Premier League, it's a little bit easier to put on a big display. You're going to be peppered with more shots opposed to what you would in La Liga. So I kind of understand where he was coming from, but I don't think anyone wasn't putting him up there as one of the top 5 keepers, top 10 keepers currently playing. He's definitely not going to go down as a top 10 keeper ever because he's just not been, I don't know, big stage enough, done enough on the biggest stages of them all. He's slowly grown in, but he's getting a bit older now as well. So yeah, that's the reason why. But last night was an absolute masterclass of goalkeeping. He was everywhere. A player that maybe he had a point to prove. Maybe that was what he went out there to do, and maybe that worked dividends for him because he was phenomenal. He didn't single-handedly win them the game, but he definitely saved them from losing
he did.
the game. No,
He
saved.
so
He
did.
can't win them the game. He can save
So
them from
did.
losing, but he can't win them
He
the
so
game.
did. He so did. He maintained that 1-0, and that was it. With the amount of chances, he so
Yeah, but he's
won
a
them
goalie.
that
But the
game.
one goal has to go in first.
Yeah.
But the one goal has to go in. Otherwise, you can't win by having a draw.
He stopped them
Man,
from
somebody else
losing
has to
or
score.
drawing,
Yeah.
but he didn't win him.
Yeah.
You can disguise it anyhow you want, man. He won them that game. But
But how can you have won the game without him scoring a goal?
we shall continue that another day. However, talking about players
I'm
to
looking
watch.
forward to that episode as well.
Yes, please. 5 Champions League medals in his locker. Karim Benzema having a very sweet season. Before the game started, there was some sort of talk about whoever wins the game. So if Liverpool should win the game, surprisingly, they were talking about Sadio Mane being Ballon d'Or. And then if Real Madrid wins the game, they're talking about Benzema. So first of all, Ballon d'Or, Big Steve, Benzema. And how is it all of a sudden it has gone from Salah being the best player in the world to Sadio Mane?
Ballon d'Or for me, yeah, Benzema, because he's made a significant difference to his side. And in games, big important games, he's carried them and been the difference. Sadio Mane has done it on occasion for Liverpool, but not on the stage that Benzema's done it for Real Madrid. He's been fantastic this season. Since Ronaldo left, he's really stepped out the shadow, taking it by the ball by the horns and led Real Madrid. Your second question about why is it Sadio Mane and not Salah? I think Mane's been more consistent over the season. Salah, and he won AFCON, whereas Salah's was really hot up till Christmas and then has dipped away dramatically. So I'd say that's why people are saying Sane and not Salah.
It's funny how with Mane's stuff, it's so he beat Egypt in the Nations Cup, which Salah was part of. So it was a 50-50. Anybody could have done that. They come back. Salah had been on fire all through. Had a deep. He was still playing well, but he wasn't playing to the same level. Golden boots, highest assists. But for some reason, people are talking about consistency. Neil, do you agree that all of a sudden, from what everybody was talking about Salah being Ballon d'Or, that he shouldn't be the Ballon d'Or?
I never had Salah down for Ballon d'Or. He had a good first start of the season, an amazing start to the season, which was surpassing anything else known to man. But he didn't have that consistency across the whole of the season. I think he scored like 4 or 5 goals after Christmas. And bearing in mind, Liverpool played 63 games this season. That's not many goals for the second half of the season. So you've got to look at consistency. Mane doesn't really score as many goals and assist anywhere near as much as Salah, but I think he probably does a lot more defending. I was surprised to see him play in centre of the park last night. I don't follow Liverpool enough, but for me, I wanted to see Salah there and then Mane out wide. I just feel that would have been so much better. Benzema, again, I don't watch La Liga week in and week out. I don't really have a valid opinion on what he's done for Real, apart from watching him in the Champions League, which he's been phenomenal. He wasn't that great last night at all, to be honest. I think he looked every bit of it, 34 years old, and looked a bit leggy towards after 60 minutes, which was a bit of a shame. He couldn't pass. So if anyone wants to pick me up on that, have a look at all his passing in the second half, which was terrible. There was like a 3-on-1 at one point, which they didn't score, and I don't understand why. It all got a little bit sloppy from Real. But Mane definitely, for me, over them. Benzema to win it. You can't give it to Mane or Salah for winning the League Cup and the FA Cup. And we took a fine margins of winning or not winning games. Like, you either win or you lose. Doesn't matter if you lose 10-0, 1-0 in a final or anything else. It just doesn't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get 100 points and come second or 1,000 points and come second. Unfortunately, you don't win anything. And with Real Madrid winning, the important stuff, the league and the Champions League are the big two, and there's no way that anyone would substitute anything else for those.
Okay, so the angry one, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you think at some point you thought Salah was the best in the world, right? And he felt when the previous award came out that he should have been there. Has that thought process gone now because of this inconsistency people talk about?
Yeah, well, I think with him, he was taking liberties the first half of the season. He was just walking through people like it was FIFA, absolute liberty taker. So that level was so high, it was unsustainable almost. I mean, you'd have to. It was like prime Messi. It's ridiculous. Like what he was doing was just taking the piss. So when he's come out from African nations, maybe that affected him, maybe it didn't, and he couldn't sustain it after that. And not only that, he actually had a dip. So he would already have had a dip anyway because he couldn't keep doing that anyway. But then on top of that, he actually had a legitimate dip. So then it just makes him look like a shadow of his former self.
So he set the level too high for himself.
Well, yeah, sometimes you have a hot streak, right? And he had a super hot Nova streak. It was crazy. So that's not. I mean, he still got golden boot though, but most of those goals were in the first half of the season. So there was that. Mane was never in the conversation, and suddenly he just throw him in lastminute.com. I don't know what that's about. Because he just had a very decent, consistent season. But other than winning the AFCON, I wouldn't have said he was pulling up trees more than Salah. Benzema, it's Champions League, and he's doing bits and bobs in there. When you're on that stage, it's like World Cup or Euro. When you're doing stuff in the bigger stages at all, you're going to get noticed. And he's won the league, and he's won the Champions League, and he scored in Champions League, but he got disallowed. So he's gonna.
So he didn't score then.
Well, it's kind of like a goalkeeper winning you the game by not scoring. So,
okay, it's one of those. We'll add it to that other episode we were talking about. We'll add it there.
Yeah.
Looking at this though, it's destiny. Real Madrid is supposed to win. They played well. They did what they had to do. Courtois had an amazing game. Liverpool, the team is still looking really good. Kanote had a very good game yesterday, played well. I was surprised to see Matip on the bench, but I take it that Kanote had been playing a lot of the Champions League games and they probably felt, his, presence or whatever. Yeah, you're nodding your head. Is that a no in terms of...
I'm shaking my head. Klopp said beforehand, he had the pace. Matip didn't quite have as much pace, so he was dropped purely on the fact that
for pace. Okay,
pace, yeah. He said it was pace, and then started to backtrack a bit, trying to say that Matip wasn't slow. But that was basically the gist of the conversation. We've dropped Matip due to the threat of the pace that Real Madrid have in the team, which was odd, really. I thought because that aging squad that we were talking about, that pace seems to be on the wings, right?
Yeah, like Valverde and Vinicius. Julian.
But that says a lot. That says a lot about the way that Liverpool play, right? Because they're relying on their centre backs to have the pace. Whereas if I'm thinking of my defenders having pace, I'm thinking fullbacks in order to get back. But that shows how little that they defend. Go on.
Is that because of the high line that they play? And because Real Madrid is known to play counter-attacking football, is it you probably thought we need faster players based on the amount of counter-attacking football Real Madrid plays? So that could be one of the things.
I think one of the things is because of Vinicius against Trent. And there was a couple of bits in the game where it's Canute who came across and actually snuffed out what Vinicius was doing. So if that
but that's because he plays so high up, doesn't he? Trent's playing like a wing almost.
Yeah, no. So if you work with Matip, I think in those situations, Vinicius probably would have got through and scored because there was a couple of key bits where Vinicius, I think there's about two chances he had, and it's Canute that came across and snuffed it out. So I think that's the reason why he played instead of Matip.
So Liverpool, though, still looking good. There is talk about Mane possibly joining Bayern. Salah hasn't signed a new contract. He has just 1 year. People are wondering, will they let him just play out that 1 year and not make him sign a new contract? But the team, Origi is going, but they still have Luis Diaz, they have Jota, and they will probably buy this summer. Now, Klopp says book your Champions League final tickets for next season. From the way things are looking and from the way they blew teams away, is it possible for them to maintain this consistency, the angry one, for next season in all competitions?
You can never say in the Prem, in English football, you never know. But I think they'll be there and thereabouts in the Prem. Champions League is an unknown factor, but I think there's a question mark of whether they're gonna have the same squad. 'Cause like we're saying, if we're saying Mane is going and Salah, we're not sure. If they lose one of those two, then they're kind of less unless they replace, and they've done well. Replace. They found two gems in Jota and what's his face, Diaz. But you just don't know. But I think they'll be there and thereabouts. I think he's a bit premature saying book your tickets for the final. He's taking the piss there a little bit, but I think they'll be there and thereabouts. But then so will City, I believe. So might be Liverpool City final.
Well, we shall see, ladies and gentlemen. The Champions League final has come. It's gone. It was good. Apart from the situation, or Spurs, who knows? Apart from the situation with the police and the fans, we hope everything else went well. It was a good football game. And then we shall see what happens next season if Liverpool fans should actually book their tickets and hotels for the final. In terms of talking about transfers and who is going and who's not coming, we are taking a look at 4 Premier League clubs: Arsenal, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, and Crystal Palace. We are talking about the teams in terms of 3 possible players they should go for to add to their teams, and hopefully that should boost their squad and keep them in the Premier League or at least win some titles. So if we're starting, let's start with Aston Villa, because Aston Villa have already bought Diego Carlos from Seville. Coutinho has signed a permanent deal. They are targeting James Tarkowski from Burnley. Mr. Hinder, with those buys already and us thinking about 3 players they should add to their squad, do you think they should do more?
Yeah, 100% they should. That's a team that could be going places. They need to act quickly in the transfer window in order to get people as cheap as possible. Steve G seems to have it sorted there. They look safe. They don't ever look like they were going to go down, which is a good thing. He's got good connections. They just have to build on it and build and build and build. I don't think they're going to go and break the bank and get £200 million worth of players, but they've got Coutinho at 20 million. Diego Carlos looks like a snip of a player. They got him cheap because Sevilla are in the red. They needed to balance the book. So evidently he went 20 million cheaper than he should have gone, which is a bonus as far as Aston Villa can be concerned. They still need to make some signings. I've got a couple that I think they should make. I did have Diego Carlos on there, but we'll take him off as he's pretty much a done deal as for now. But Cornet from Burnley, I believe, would do wonders there. I think you've got Coutinho in that team. You've got to start building your team a little bit around him, about who he's distributing that ball to, whether it's going out wide or at the top. They've already cemented a decent quality centre-back, so I don't need to worry about that. The Liverpool connection, though, 2 players that I'm thinking that if I was a Villa fan, I'd be pretty happy about. I'd literally have the eggplant emoji all over my social media accounts. Suarez for nothing, man. Can you imagine Coutinho and Suarez? I mean, I know they're a little bit older, but I'd still be pretty happy with that if I was a Villa fan.
Coutinho has shown he can play in the Premier League without a doubt. Suarez has played there before, but she said he's getting older. So if they can get that connection, though, probably Suarez won't play every game, especially if Ings
but he can
and
have a
Watkins
good bite
stay.
at it, couldn't he? He'd have a good bite of making an effort there. That was lame. And the other player that I'm hoping they might go in for is Origi. Got the Liverpool connection again. He's off. We all know he's leaving Liverpool. I don't know where he's going to.
Are you saying this on the basis that Watkins and Ings might leave? Because that would have Origi, Suarez, Ollie, Watkins.
Ollie Watkins, you kind of keep. Ings, I'd be getting rid of. He's a bit of a journeyman. He's not saying he doesn't score goals, 100% does, but I'm thinking that they want to build like a project, something with players that they'll keep or that maybe have started winning things. And Ings Ings wasn't very successful when he went to Liverpool to score goals, but fell out of favour because he's not the name, if that makes sense. Origi definitely has more of the work ethic than Ings does around the rest of the pitch. Ings is a great centre forward, but that's about it. So I don't know what Stevie G will look to get out of his team and how he's going to get out there. Suarez for me is a no-brainer because he's free, and Origi's free. So I'm thinking value for money wise at the moment for getting strikers in, fill your boots. Only spending the money on corner from Burnley who have gone down, so he might be a little bit cheaper this season.
Okay, well, that is good input, sir. Put your bets on. Origi, though, it'd be nice to see him actually play 90 minutes if he goes to Villa, but we shall see. Big Steve, though, on Villa, he signed Diego Carlos, he signed Trakowski, which we can play.
Was Trakowski gone through?
No, well, he wants to. Sorry, bad information. But he seems like, is he trying to say he's not very happy with his defense at the moment?
He's not. I don't think he's overly chuffed with Tyrone Mings. Konsa was out for a long period of time this season, so I think he's the only centre back that he has trusted and believes. I think anything else could be gone, to be honest. That's why I was looking at Tarkowski. They've even talked about looking at what's his name, the guy at Rangers, Bassi, and Botman, and even Botman as well. So central defenders are what he's looking at. To touch on Neil's point as well, Suarez, if he can get him in the door, will be a no-brainer. I think that'll be a sign for Ings to move on. They'll keep Watkins. Watkins can probably learn off Suarez the footballing aspects of the good things of football, not all the other shit. And then build from there. So.
The angry one. Do you, please help me out here, do you think Ings is as a waste man or as finished as this other two are making it sound like?
Ings is any guy, to be honest. You know what I mean?
What does that mean?
Just any guy, innit?
Just a guy. A guy with a jersey.
Doesn't matter. The guy doesn't even have a card on FIFA. He's any guy, man. Even that guy, what's his name? The guy that plays in the Championship, the big geezer. He's got a card in FIFA. That's how I judge all players. If you ain't got a card in FIFA, you're any guy. And Ings has never had a card. All the times I play FIFA, he's never got a card. He's good. And I think one time Pep praised him being as a top player.
He was linked to Man City at some point.
Yeah, but was that even real? Because when you see him on the pitch, he's just good. He's okay. Yeah, no one's gonna be crying and losing sleep if they lose Ings. Nobody. It's literally nobody. Yeah. Let's have it right. Do you know what I mean?
All right. So, Big Steve.
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah.
Why do you always pick these mad players and try to big them up for no
reason?
No.
I didn't big him up. This is a man that's played. He has had a very good season.
This guy's world class. That was world class.
No, first of all, Thiago and Ings, two different conversations, man. Don't even put them in the same.
What about Harvey Barnes? You bigging up Harvey Barnes a little while ago.
Harvey's good though. Harvey's good. Come on, Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes.
Come on, any guy, man.
Harvey Barnes is not an any guy. Does he have a card on FIFA? I don't play FIFA, so tell me.
He had it last year.
There you go.
But listen, but look, yeah. Ings is any guy. Trust me. There's no point talking about that guy.
Okay, let's not talk about Ings then. But Big Steve, do you agree with Neil's 3 potential buys of Villa, or do you have your own?
I said mine. Suarez, Tarkowski's on the way, and either Botman or Bassi.
Okay, and the angry one?
I'd throw in. If you're looking for a striker, I mean, if they can get Suarez, boom, happy days. If they can't, I would even throw in, I don't know, Tammy Abraham in there. If he's done. He's
not going to leave Roma to come back.
Yeah, well, that's not what he's been saying in the media. He hasn't ruled it out, so you never know. Money talks, and it's home, innit? So I throw him in there.
Okay,
if you can get him.
All right. Well, Ings,
and they didn't catch her.
Well, Ings, if you're listening, man, I think you're a good player. Don't ignore these guys. But I'm not. I'm just a host. So 100% says you're rubbish. Sorry, man.
Why did it say rubbish? I said it's any guy.
That's worse than rubbish.
No, just any guy, innit? Faceless, innit? Faceless player.
Okay, so now, of course, coming into the Premier League, Bournemouth, there was the video going around being viral. Scott Parker, rallying the troops, and they've come back to the Premier League. Is it a case of, at this point in time, it will probably just be them? The number one thing to do would be to stay in the Premier League. And looking at the players they have, they probably need to boost their squad. So now, the thing with teams that are promoted, do you go for older, experienced players, or do you boost your team with youth and just hope that it gives you the strength to stay up? Neil,
You don't go with youth. You go with youth when you can afford quality youth. That's the difference. They've got to be able to buying good quality young players that are been scouted. Then they're up against the likes of Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, Real Madrid, Munich. There's a whole world of looking for good quality young players. They're all tapped up at the age of 7, working, and mum and dad living in mansions by the time they're 12 to get them at the club that they want to get to. So it's a lot of expense if it doesn't work out. Particular player in the Premier League for 70 odd million that hasn't worked out, and you're all looking a bit sweaty about that young player because it could be either of your clubs, right? So I've got Pepe, Sancho. I'm looking at them signing some experienced players because I feel that the experience of being in the Prem is helpful, and just bolstering that squad up to get it to a level that competes for this season. Because first season, I'm always thinking transition. Can you stay in? Perfect. You've got the first season happiness, etc. But bolster the squad with some experienced pros, and then look to build on and buy the bigger name players. So the 3 I've gone with for Bournemouth, Joshua King. Taking him back there because Watford have been relegated, so they know what he's like. They've had him. He's a decent
just
player.
move house, go back to the same house.
Who doesn't want to live by the coast, right? Tom Cleverley as well, bolstering the midfield.
Sorry to stop you, man. That is another guy. That's another guy. That's an any guy. Carry on, please.
He's more than any guy, mate.
He's a jobber, right? He's just going around. I think he'd be a decent addition. I'm thinking experienced pros for Bournemouth is going to be key, and Ben Mee as well. Good centre back. I think he'll be helpful to that team. So I'm trying to think of additions that realistically they could get in, who would help and give them some decent Premier League experience. They've all got it. They've all been there, done it. They've all been in teams that have stayed up for usually quite a few seasons, apart from the last season of relegation. But they're not going to be up against the likes of the more established clubs that up buying players. So I think that's kind of the level that they'll be looking to pitch at.
All right. The angry one, I should put you on the spot and just ask you this. Regardless of the players that you think they should get in terms of the 3 players or the players that Neil has mentioned, looking at the competition and the way this season went, do you think Bournemouth to stay up? And then you can tell me your 3 players.
Who came up? Forest, Bournemouth, for who?
And Fulham.
I'm gonna. If I say no, Duncan will kill me. So I'm going to say no. Yeah, no, they're going down.
Them and Leeds both going down, right? Just to really...
Yeah, both of them. Yeah, just to ruin his life. No, I don't know, because we have to see how they start off. It's early. Because, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say definitely for sure, because there are some stinky teams in the Premier at the moment.
Okay.
It might have been a bad season.
No worries. Very nice diplomatic answer. The Bournemouth fans, don't worry. There's a whole season for him to destroy your team as it goes on. Who are your players that you think they should join Bournemouth? Your 3 players?
Danny Ings, yeah, first of all. Yeah,
it's former Southampton. Former Southampton. He's not going to go there.
He's a top striker, just any guy. Yeah. Tyrone Mings, because basically Shred wants to get rid of him. And then I'd get somebody in the middle of the park. Danny Drinkwater's on a freebie, isn't he leaving? Where's he going? One of Danny Drinkwater's, or the guy, what's that guy from Man United who used to play for Chelsea?
Matic.
Yeah, one of those journeyman type guys on a free who have the experience and can do a job as long as you've got legs around him.
Okay. And Big Steve.
So for me, Solanke needs a bit of help up top, I reckon, to get goals. I don't know if he'll get enough goals to keep him up. So Josh King as Neil said. Another one
Okay,
is
help me out here though. Help me out. Solanke, well, he was one of those that people thought was going to destroy the Premier League when they bought him from Liverpool. Didn't
Yep.
particularly happen. It seems like he has done well in the Championship. Is this a case of that? You know how you have some of the strikers that they tear up the Championship and then they come to the Premier League and it's a struggle. Is it that?
Mitrovic and Pukki.
Well, I mean, those guys did score over 10 goals, but Solanke, do you think he has a lot to prove coming back now?
he does have a lot to prove, but he may prove it, but I don't think he'll give them enough goals to stay in the Premiership. So if they're going to stay in the Prem, they need another striker that's going to chip in with goals. Centre back, Ben Mee, as Neil said, if he's available and wants to go to him, I would have said Tarkowski, but he seems to have wanted by higher clubs. And the other one will be Jack Butland as a goalkeeper.
Is this a case that Burnley is just going to end up being like a shopping mall? A lot of people are just going to go there and try and get some experienced players, get the likes of Tarkowski. Tarkowski seems to be very big in the market, Ben Mee and all these guys. Well, let's see. Michael Jackson is going to be tougher in the Championship if they keep taking all your players.
I think if Dyche to stay in charge, there would have been a good chance that a lot of the side would have stayed together and give it an opportunity to come straight back up. But the fact that Jackson's there, a lot of the players that had loyalty to Dyche and the club may decide to move on.
They've been linked with Vincent Kompany, though, haven't they, as their new manager?
Yes, they have.
So I think he put on his boots. He could play in the Championship. Surely.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, I mean,
he only stopped playing a season ago.
He was pretty much on the massage table, and every game he played, I don't think his body can take that Championship.
But that's not because you can't play anymore.
No, man. I'm still the best baller on the show, and everybody else that listens, everybody knows, man.
On the massage table, you're the best baller.
How would you know? Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, from massage tables to Crystal Palace, and everybody knowing how nice Patrick Vieira has done this season. I mean, he kicks who he wants, but he has made Crystal Palace a solid team. They're actually playing attacking football. He has actually taken the burden, in my opinion, of the likes of Zaha, who had his best scoring season because the other creative players now for Crystal Palace. But now, of course, the next thing is, can you step up to the next level? And Big Steve, we'll start with you. What players do you think he needs to get in to that team? I mean, Connor was really good. We don't know if he's going to go back to Chelsea. But what players can he possibly get?
Conor Gallagher. He needs to get that signature. I know he was a loan, whether he gets him back on another loan or as a permanent deal from Chelsea, but that's a very key one. It'll save him a lot of headache than trying to get a midfielder that can try and do what he was doing because he would already been settled. So Conor Gallagher should be one of his priority signings. The other one would be Nketiah, because I think they need something up top.
Nketiah is not better than the strikers they have now, is he?
He's different, and it's complementing them. To be honest,
Okay.
it's not a case of replacing what he's got. It's about complementing them because
he's better than Benteke.
Yeah, Benteke. But to me, Benteke is a squad, not even a squad player. So he should be looking for some. He should be looking to go out the door.
Any guy.
Jordan. Yeah, Jordan Ayew is not an option. So they should be getting Nketiah to complement what they've already got.
Okay.
And the last one was Sam Johnson from West Brom.
Oh,
goalkeeper.
Okay. Nice. Moving on, the angry one. Who are the players you think should go and help boost the Crystal Palace team?
I agree with those two, but I was looking. They were linked to this. Well, I think everybody's linked to this guy. I don't know who the agent is. Check Decore, how you pronounce it. But I think maybe they go for him if they don't get Conor Gallagher. I think. Other than that, I'd go with Eddie or Danny Ings if he's free.
You just want Danny Ings to go anywhere other than Villa. Anyway, just
to
go
make
somewhere.
him any man.
Yeah, just to make him some man, from any man to some guy.
I want him to go somewhere and be the main man somewhere because he's not the main man at Villa. He hasn't. I mean, he was kind of the main man at Southampton for a little bit, but it's been a while, isn't it? I like the guy, to be honest. I'm just saying, it's any guy. So yeah, I think that check the Corey if they don't get Gallagher, Eddie, because he's a free, so that's a no-brainer really. Yeah, and just consolidate what they've got because they had a few injuries last season as well. So some of those players will be back and fit and a year under their belt in the same team. So I think they're going places next season.
All right. And Mr. Hinder, who are your 3 players that you think should
I'm
join?
not sure what Steve and the angry one aren't happy about. I think Nketiah, hasn't he signed a new Arsenal deal?
No, he hasn't signed it.
They've given him like 350,000 a week to be the main man, and then he won't play after Christmas. So I've got some odd players. That I've got Tuwe Awunye from FC Union Berlin. He's got 15 goals and 29 starts for them. They definitely need somebody up top. The signings that they've made previously aren't good enough. They did spend some money, but I mean, if I hadn't looked at their squad, I probably would have spent a long time trying to think who they had up front that would score them goals. They got Mateta in, who looks half decent, but I mean, they need someone else. They need replacements for Benteke and AU. Regardless, I think they're about my age. Conor Gallagher has to be signed, whether it's a loan or whatever. That just needs to be done. That's their signing. If they don't make that, then I think that's a season wasted. And if they don't, Jonas Hoffman from Borussia Mönchengladbach, I think might be a decent signing for them. He's an attacking midfielder, 12 goals and 5 assists last season. I think it could be on their radar. There's going to be a whole host of players that we've never heard of on the radar for a lot of these teams. But it's trying to bolster that squad with players that are going to come in and actually do something. Zaha seems to be a little bit reinvigorated since Vieira's been there. I don't think that's to be harsh on him. I think before Vieira was there, he wasn't as important to the team. Still, without a doubt, their best player, but he's had a cracking season under him. And imagine him with some decent centre forward play, right? That would be amazing from their point of view. So yeah, good season for them, hopefully.
There you go. It'll be interesting to see
before we move on. Sorry, one that we forgot.
You've had your turn.
Possibly Wan-Bissaka might be going back.
Oh, the spider! The spider!
Don't tease him. Don't tease him. The
spider. Sad story. The spider. Well, let's see. Just before we move on again, as you said, Big Steve, I'll let you guys know. Ollie Watkins had 35 appearances for Villa, scored 11 goals, 2 assists. Anyman Ings had 30 appearances, scored 7 goals, and has 6 assists. It's not a bad season. It's not a bad season for Mr. Anyman.
But he didn't get double figures. He's any guy, man.
He wasn't starting though. He was like
exactly because any guy. That's why he's not starting. If he was the top boy, he was starting, isn't it? What do you think any guy means?
Save that energy as we're moving on now because we are going to talk about the 3 potential players you think Arsenal should sign. And since you're in that wonderful spirit, let's start with you, the angry one. Who are the 3 guys you think should join your team?
I'm not going to give you 3. I'll give you about 600. But anyway, listen.
Take the best 3.
Are you starting off with Rangnick first? As some consultancy work because I believe he's got space in his diary to work.
I'm giving you 3 positions. All right, so we need a striker, obviously, whether Eddie signs or not. So the 3 that I've got in there, we've been linked to Jesus. I've taken, can play across all 3. Been linked to Gnabry, but I don't know if that's even possible. And Victor Osimhen plays for Napoli. He's a target man. Surprised we're not linked to Tammy, but fair enough. So that's, I think we're going to get a decent striker, but not world class or anything like that. So we'll see how that one goes. We need 2 as well because we're losing Laka. But midfield is where I think we need some help. I wouldn't mind getting John McGinn in there, or João Moutinho, or Calvin Phillips, or Tchouameni from Monaco. Any 2 of those 4 really. And then we need a replacement right back or left back, depending on how you look at it. So either left back that can play right back, or right back that can play left back. Because Tierney's like Mr. Glass, so he's always injured, and we're not sure about Tavares being the answer. Cedric needs to go anyway, so we do need a replacement right back. So those are the 3 positions that I've mentioned about 6.
Isn't Bellerin back this season?
Fuck off, is he?
He is back. He's finished at
No,
Betis
yeah,
now.
no, he's not, man. He's going Betis.
He is back,
He's
but he said that
Yeah.
he said he wants to stay at Betis and he hopes that
Yeah,
they
of
can
course he
work
Stay
out.
there.
It's warm.
Don't come back then.
It's warm.
Don't come back. You can do one. Forget him. He's any guy. He's a waste man. He's not any guy. Any guy's a compliment. Dead things, man.
All right. From calling 3 positions, 600 players, Bellerin not coming back. Big Steve, your top 3 players you think Arsenal should sign?
Okay, cool. So Jesus for me, Osimhen, because we need strikers, well, regardless of what happens already.
Victor Osimhen.
The way Saga's gone on, to be honest, I think he should just go somewhere new. And if they're going to have a third striker, use Balogun, because he's been out on loan. Let him come back and see what he does this season. The third one will be Basuma from Brighton. We need someone to replace Xhaka in the midfield, to play alongside Partey and behind Odegaard.
I like that you called Balogun. I like that you called him. How's his loan going? Is he scoring? Is he ripping it like Troy Parrott for Tottenham?
He's as good as Dane Scarlett, mate.
He hasn't been ripping it to my knowledge. But it's a case of...
He hasn't been scratching it. He hasn't been trying to rip it. He's dead, mate. Leave it.
It's a case of if you're not gonna give him the opportunity, then you might as well move him on. Because we made efforts to give him a 4 or 5 year contract. He's been a year into the contract. He's gone out on loan. If he's not gonna see how he is as a third striker, where else is he gonna do it? So to me, that's what they should do. And then the fourth, I've got 4, is Jed Spence at right back.
Sorry, man.
He was tasty, man.
Yes, we asked for 3. You gave us 4. Imagine that.
Well, it's still less than the 900 Mike gave you.
It was tasty. I forgot about that guy.
So Jed Spence, the fact that he's on loan from Borough, even though he just helped Forest come up, there's quite a few clubs after him. If he comes in at right back, at least Tomiyasu can play at left back as cover for Tierney. So, yeah.
All right. Before I go to Mr. Hinder, you mentioned that regardless of what happens, you don't think Eddie should sign a new contract. So are you saying it's because of, he had a good finish to the season. He kind of showed that given the chance to start, he might get you some goals. Do you want him not to sign because you're worried if he signs, you're not going to actually get another striker?
No, but did he do that effort towards the end of the season because he was putting himself in the shop window?
No, but he was doing it because that's when he played.
He played in games earlier in the FA Cup and come on a substitute, and he didn't show the energy. I know he didn't get a run of starting, but his whole energy was completely different. He wasn't running around. He wasn't trying. But when he came in the side towards the end of the season, he was running around. His energy levels were different. So
yeah, but it's the Prem, though, isn't it? Man's playing the Prem.
Nah, that's to me is showing putting yourself in the shop window, and we're in danger of giving him a new contract, and then he just reverts to type.
What like Oba, yeah?
Well, Mr. Hinder, who are your 3 players you think should join the Gooners?
I'm surprised that they've offered Nketiah £100,000 a week. Just let that sink in. Nketiah plus £5 million on bonuses.
More than Saka.
It's a lot of money, right?
More than Saka.
Yeah, he's better than Saka. He's got an end product, I suppose.
What are you talking about? Shut up, man.
That's easy to wind you up, wasn't it? So Jesus looks like it's going to be a done deal. And if they don't do that deal now, that they're going to look silly because Angry One's right. He can play across the top 3 anywhere in there. To me, it's a no-brainer because I think quality in the top 3 it needs looking at and replacing anyway. Looking at the Arsenal squad, I know there's a lot of players out on loan, but when you look at how big that squad actually is, of how many bang average players that haven't performed or aren't wanted at that club, there's a lot. I still think they need a top quality centre back. Salisu, if they can get him from Southampton, would be a great signing for Arsenal. I would look at Borja up front. Borja from Chelsea, Southampton. Great centre. Looks like he's got pace, strength, hold the ball up. If you've got him and Jesus together, what a team that would be. I agree with Big Steve Bissouma from Brighton. I think if they're looking at Tielemans at the moment, I don't know if that's because they think he's more affordable, but I would be looking at not that he's not a good quality player, but better quality players. And I think Bissouma definitely work rate, great season this season in that Brighton team. Has been fantastic, standout player. Would fit in that Arsenal ilk quite easily because he runs hard. The other one is Kante from Chelsea might be leaving. Now, I know that people think that he's past his best, but man, the guy runs for days. And in a team where he's getting loved and getting appreciated, I think he would be a good signing for.
But he's not fit, is he?
I don't think it doesn't matter, man. You got Xhaka. A half fit Kante is still twice as fit as Xhaka.
That guy's name, man.
Well, there are a few moments in this show where Big Steve and Mike, the angry one, actually agree. And when Neil said Tielemans, two of you are like, no. Why don't you want Tielemans? He would definitely boost out your squad. Or you don't think there's space for him because you have Odegaard and ESR?
Yep. I don't think we need that type of midfielder. We need a defensive midfielder. Tielemans is not
I'd rather have João Moutinho or Calvin Phillips, mate.
And on that note, in talking about defensive midfielder, hasn't El Neni just signed a new contract?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a squad player. That's not a start in the first 11 defensive midfielder. He's
so we can go out on loan again, right? Because that's usually what they do. 5-year contract, go out on loan.
Well, we shall see. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done a review of talking points of the Champions League final. The guys in the studio have given their 3 players and a bit more to Arsenal, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, and Crystal Palace for who they think they should sign. If any of these guys have been talking good sense, please, these clubs, you can take them as spotters, scouts, and then we can wear sponsored by Grassroot chats out there. So on our next episode of The Kickabout, we will continue this potential 3 players going to good clubs, and we'll be talking about Chelsea, Everton, Leeds, and Brentford. So please catch us on Wednesday. Till then, subscribe on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. And of course, you can get all our content from grassrootchat.com. This is a day that any man was defined. So ladies and gentlemen, if you ever have a problem with somebody, just let them know that they are any man. So
Any guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, it's goodbye from Big Steve.
Bye.
Goodbye from Mr. Hinder.
Take it easy, guys.
And of course, goodbye from the inventor of any guy, Ings, the angry one.
Liz.
Till next episode, ladies and gentlemen, more things.